Instagram Live on Cambodian Association as well. People online, welcome. Glad that you're with us right now. But before I start, I want to say a few thank yous. My name is Sarun Chan. I'm the Executive Director here at the Cambodian Association of Greater Philadelphia. We were founded in 1979, so over 42 years old. 4 decades of being American in this country, which is great, right? 40 long years, I mean. But I want to say a few thank you. The first thank you I want to give is actually to our Cambodian community for being so resilient. You guys are amazing. Our folks are amazing individuals. Our diverse South Philly community, this park is one of the most diverse parks in the entire city. It's one of the most used parks as well. There's probably over 30 plus different languages involved in this park. And if you have never visited us, it's beautiful. We're having renovations happen and it's amazing. Next up, I wanted to also thank our diverse supporters who have stood up, spoke up, and helped amplify our voice. You know, as Cambodian Americans, we are a minority within a minority, as Southeast Asians, right? With a monolithic identity of being Asian American. And also during this anti-Asian period, and during this blatant ethnic intimidation against the Cambodian community. I will talk a little bit about the letter and things like that, and we'll hear a little bit more about that. Thank you also to the Philadelphia Police Department for responding, taking action swiftly, because it was only in a matter of days before we actually found out all the information and all that great. So the investigation went very well to identify the individual that concocted the threatening letter that specifically targeted our specific minority group here in our city. So thank you for that. Thank you to our city officials, city agencies, and elected officials who heard our call and instantly came to our aid. You know, the moment it happened, that same day, it was Monday when we opened the letter, it was a quick turnaround. Everyone just came to our aid and our support, which was great. Specifically, Senator Saval, he drove straight to our office when we made that 911 call. So thank you so much to the senator for supporting us for that. Thank you so much. Yep. Last but not least, thank you to our fellow community-based organizations and your community. You know, one of the most beautiful things was when this went down, our CBOs, multicultural CBOs, multi-service CBOs reached out to us directly. And you know what they asked us? How can we help? How can we help you? That's just perfect. How can you come and help us? Perfect. So today, today we are here to address and update the community about a threatening letter that CAGP received, where the perpetrator strategically concocted a racial and ethnically intimidating announcement of violence to an ethnic minority for playing with fireworks in the city of Philadelphia days before Independence Day, July 4th weekend. The letter had no return address. The contents were typed and printed and included words from the letter such as your Cambodian residence, words like I do own several guns, words like go down there and kill these individuals, words like kill these people, words like stop doing this and remain alive, exclamation point. And this individual also self-identified. This person who wrote the letter self-identified as a veteran who suffers from PTSD. They self-identified as an individual who served 6 years, self-identified as doing 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, self-identified as suffering from severe stress and anxiety with flashbacks and uncontrollable thoughts because of the PTSD. They self-identified as all those things. So we'll hear more about that. And, you know, during this whole situation, hearing that, it was a mix of feelings. And we did try to reach out to veteran associations and things like that to further help assist. This strategically concocted and threatening letter has jeopardized the safety of our entire Cambodian community in the city of Philadelphia and all of the beautiful neighbors in this community. Not just Cambodians, all the neighbors in this community. Our Cambodian community are war refugees and survivors of genocide. And the event of this week has re-triggered a population who actually suffers from traumas of war and PTSD and brought upon pain and mental distress. The damage has been done. The damage has been done. Today, we will receive updates from the Philadelphia Police Department, and what is next? We will hear from city agencies and elected officials. And in the era of the pandemic and anti-Asian hate, sorry. And in the era of the pandemic and anti-Asian hate, violence, and ethnic intimidation, we look forward to hearing from everyone speaking today, which is a list of about 13 individuals, of how justice looks like, how accountability looks like, how healing looks like as a community, and what our community demands looks like as well. Moving forward from the pain and the chaos that has caused and what has follow-up from the city officials look like as well. So, without further ado, I do want to invite our first speaker, Chief Inspector Frank Venor from the Philadelphia Police Department. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm going to go over very briefly some of the investigation. I know some of this is already out there. I want to preference this by saying that this is still an active investigation, so there's certain things that I can't comment on or answer. So sometime on Monday, what we know is the Cambodian Association received a letter that was referred to earlier, which contained some threats and all the information that was just previously discussed. Based on that, and as vowed by the Commissioner, South Detective Division here in 24th and Wolf immediately responded, and they began an investigation into what occurred with that letter. That investigation included collecting forensic evidence from the letter, as well as speaking to as many people in the community as they could. That very quick response led us very fast to identify who we believe is the author of the letter. So some of that information I can't comment on, but as you know now, much of that letter was falsified. Most of that information was not true. There was no veteran, there were no guns. So we all know now as a senior citizen who was very frustrated and scared because of the fireworks and put some things in that letter they should never have. So as fact finders in the case, we collected all the information and we're working step by step with the district attorney to see what's next, as was said now. Whatever is next, I know the city's prepared for services both for the community that was affected by the letter and anybody on the other side of this that may need help for whatever reason, one way or another. So I just want to thank everybody. I want to mention that the captain and the inspector from the district are here, along with some of their personnel, and I have 2 detectives here. If anybody has additional information they'd like to share or information about something not even related to this but they'd like to give us, we'd certainly be here to take it from you. So we want to thank you for coming out, and we just want to let you know that if something occurs, we will be there very quickly to respond. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Inspector Venor. So next up, we do have Pennsylvania Senator Saval. Please join us.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Nikhil Saval. I represent the 1st Senatorial District, which we are in right now. It's all of Center City and South Philly, east of Broad Street. I only want to speak briefly. As Sarun mentioned, I received a message from CAGP, from Mr. Hoare, from others, indicating that they had received a threatening letter that we've already discussed. And I just want to say that, I'm Asian American. I've been, like many Asian Americans, subject to attacks, to hateful threats in the last several years. And this is a trauma that goes back for a long time, as Sarun mentioned. I mean, it goes back to people being chased out of FDR Park. It goes back to genocide and war in Southeast Asia. So this is long-standing and it has deep roots in this country. So it's not just the last few years. But I just wanted to mention that as someone, I was in the car with my son who's 2.5 years old. We use this park frequently, like many people. I just feel like this park is, in many ways, the heart of South Philadelphia. It represents so much of what is great about the city, and what has changed about the city. I mean, in the park, you will see people from Burma playing Chinlone. You will see Bangladeshi immigrants playing cricket. It is a place that we use and that many of us feel at home in. So the letter and what it implied was a threat against all of this. And so I felt it was incumbent on me and on all of us to respond. So I'm grateful to the officers here for their response. I'm grateful above all to the community, which has been a home for me, the Cambodian community, but the Asian American community more broadly. And I just, I just want to say that we're here, that this threat to this park, to the people, the ability of people to play freely, to is not something that we take lightly. And even a letter which, despite whatever its provenance or the threat was clear, and the threat is reflected not just in that letter, but so many different kinds of threats that Asian Americans, that Cambodian Americans have received for years. And so there's no mistaking what it meant, and there's just the thing that we need is community solidarity with all of our elected officials, solidarity with the broader immigrant community in Philadelphia, and I'm here for that. And I just want to know that we will be here, day in and day out to make sure that our people are safe and can thrive. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. Words mean a lot. You can weaponize words. And we've seen that for many years with the Black community, Black and brown community. So weaponizing a lot of things can really hurt communities. But we gotta figure out how to heal and also find out what justice means as well as a community. So next up we have Randy, who is the Deputy Director of the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Duque. I'm with the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, and we are the city's agency that enforces the civil rights and anti-discrimination laws. We work a lot with respect to addressing hate and bias as they occur in the city. For instance, in the first 6 months of this year, we've had 46 reports to our agency, of which 19 were against Asian and API community. 16 of those 19 are actually confirmed, and that there's enough information to suggest hate or bias in that incident. So that's, this speaks to the importance of reporting. Like, the past few years, we've been really trying to get out there to inform people the importance of reporting. If you see it, if you experience it, to report it. You saw that when CAGP, received this letter, they called 911. They got immediate help and assistance with the police. At the very least, by reporting, the city knows what's going on and where it's going on, so we can reallocate resources and try to address the issue. At the very most, they could probably stop the act. In this case, the police did an investigation to determine who had sent this anonymous letter. So I just want to reiterate the importance of reporting. And I want to thank you for coming out in solidarity.
Thank you so much. Next we have Amy Isubio, Executive Director at the Office of Immigrant Affairs.
Good afternoon, everyone. As was already shared, my name is Amy Osebe, and I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Immigrant Affairs. My message today, so the City of Philadelphia, we are a proud, welcoming city that celebrates and protects its vibrant immigrant community. Pew Report data from 2018 actually indicates that Philadelphia residents overwhelmingly are pleased to have immigrants in our neighborhoods, that immigrants add value to our local immigrant communities, bring new people and vitality to our neighborhoods, and that support has steadily been growing since 2012. It is heartbreaking to have seen a resident in this, a resident in pain in this very neighborhood choose to blame a specific ethnic community for their suffering, and for this person to have done this in such a threatening manner. And it's especially heartbreaking for me to see this happen to the Cambodian community, a community that's already suffered a lot of history of pain and violence, wide-ranging threats, victimization abroad and here in the U.S. And so I know that this incident has re-traumatized many folks in our community. I do want to say that I want to take a moment, though, to applaud the quick activation of leadership from the Cambodian community. There was quick activation, mobilization, and organization. Leaders such as Sarun, Narun, Sarang, I haven't seen her yet, Nari. Because you all came together and deliberated what was needed for your community to feel safe and heard, you were able to quickly mobilize and get the attention of city resources such as our office, such as the police department, PCHR, as was already shared. And I just want to reiterate, please never forget that this community response, even everyone's presence here today in this park, and your active civic engagement with the city is an amazing strength. So as long as there's community and active building, partnership, activation, planning and action, the people will be heard, the people will be protected, the people will be supported. I also want to commend our colleagues at the police department for quickly responding and investigating this, hearing the community's concerns, responding, investigating. So deep appreciation and thanks for that. So our Office of Immigrant Affairs, we were established as a permanent city office in 2019 with a lot of support from Philadelphia citizens. Our office's mission is to promote the well-being of Philadelphia's immigrant communities. And so today, we stand with the Cambodian community and the entire multi-ethnic, multilingual community in this neighborhood. We are proud to be here. We recognize the pain and suffering, and we are committed to working with our colleagues in the Department of Behavioral Health, as well as the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, to find a pathway forward for healing and for reconciliation for any other residents in the neighborhood who share similar concerns. Regardless of this terrible incident, please know that we, the City of Philadelphia, value what immigrants bring to our city. Immigrants have been key to our city's revitalization, thriving culturally, economically. And so I just want to say, you all are the true representation of Philadelphia and all that makes us such a beautiful city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Thank you.
I didn't know who it was.
Next up, we
I know it was
have.
beautiful.
I missed my list. Lo siento. No, it's okay.
Yeah, that's funny.
With Sheriff Rochelle Balal. Welcome, Sheriff.
So today,
Tuesday.
standing here today to show solidarity with you and your community. An attack against one of us, a threat against one of us is an attack and a threat against all of us. Our law enforcement community stands behind you in support, beside you in strength. We know the importance of standing tall in the face of adversity and danger, even if that danger is implied in a letter. So I'm just here to stand together with you, because as we stand together, we will fall apart if we don't. Akun.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are at our midpoint. And I'd like to see and acknowledge the different organizations and agencies and community members here. So before that, we'll take a little thank you of who's present right here. Number one, again, it's the Philadelphia Police Department. Thank you so much. The Mayor's Commission, the Mayor's Office of Asian Pacific American Affairs. Thank you so much. Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, Office of Immigrant Affairs, Department of Behavioral Health and Mental Disability Services, representatives from various city council offices and elected officials, including Council Member Helen Gim office, Council Member Mark Squilla's office, State Rep Elizabeth Fiedler office, of course, PA Senator Nikhil Saval, KISS Integrated and Targeted Human Services, Cambodian American Girls Empowering, Philadelphia Cambodian American Business Community, Asian Americans United, Viet Lead, Philly Solidarity, Friends of Mifflin Square Park, Caribbean Community in Philadelphia, Madero and Company, Philadelphia Chinatown Community Development Corp., Victim Witness Services of South Philadelphia, American Civil Liberties Union, Mennonite Central Committee of East Coast, and that is just to name a few amazing agencies, organizations, and entities who responded really fast to this issue. So thank you so much for being here, and those of you online, for sure. So next up, I would like to invite our next guest speaker, Neri Kith, who is a founder and executive director of Kiths Inc.
Dr. Kids.
Hi everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
You know, a lot of what has been said is what I was going to mention as well. So I do agree with Senator Saval and others. We're talking about trauma in our community, right? So I'm not going to take up too much time. I really just want to emphasize the letter and how it has traumatized a group of people residing here in South Philadelphia. So Cambodian Americans, Cambodian refugees settled here in the early 80s into impoverished neighborhoods with little resources, little to no services, involved in the school to prison to deportation pipeline due to having underserved communities. This letter, to say the least, was very triggering to this community. You know, the threat of gun violence is not something that we have not experienced coming here into the United States in the early 80s. You know, we have been discriminated against, we have faced racism, we have faced ethnic intimidation. You know, the letter talks about post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not making light of mental health issues. This person is weaponizing a mental health condition that is very real and serious to many of the Cambodian Americans and refugees in this city. The trauma still exists. It has not been resolved for many people. So we take this very seriously. The intent behind the letter may not have been, you know, it may have been because she was frustrated, they were frustrated, they didn't know how to reach out, didn't know how to ask for help. But when you put something in writing, threatening a specific community, you have our attention now, you know. So just want to let anyone know here that the trauma of migration, the trauma of displacement and death of millions was reopened. The wounds were reopened with that letter. And I applaud all the community members and everyone here standing beside us and the community. I thank you for your support. And I hope we can find some kind of resolution and continue to talk about these concerns that we have in the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neri. Next up, I would love to invite Mr. Hoa Chu, who is the president of the Philadelphia Cambodian American Business Community. Mr. Hoa?
Pick up the main goal.
ខ្ញុំបានឈ្មោះជួហតំណាងឲ្យសហគមន៍ពាណិជ្ជកម្មខ្មែរក្រុង Philadelphia សូមអរគុណដល់ក្រសួងប៉ូលីសនិងក្រសួងRoselle និង City Council Senator និងគណៈកម្មការអង្គការទាំងអស់ដែលបានចូលរួមក្នុងកម្មវិធីថ្ងៃនេះ
My name is Mr. Chu Hall. I would like to thank the police department, all the community members, and the senator for being here with us today.
ជាដំបូងខ្ញុំមានសេចក្តីរីករាយដោយបានបងប្អូននិងអង្គការទាំងអស់ដែលបានចូលរួមគ្រប់គ្រងយកសហគមន៍យើងរស់នៅក្នុងនេះ40ឆ្នាំហើយមិនដែលមានរឿងអីកើតឡើងធំដុំដោយសារនេះដោយថានៅថ្ងៃទី5ខែ7នេះសមាគមខ្មែរបានទទួលលិខិតមួយដែលគម្រាមកំហែងដល់សហគមន៍យើងខ្ញុំ
My heart is overwhelmed and happy to see everyone in support and solidarity with us. In the many years that I've been living in Philadelphia, our community has never received such a violent threat.
ដូច្នេះខ្ញុំមានសេចក្តីសង្ឃឹមថាអង្គការទាំងអស់និងក្រមប៉ូលីសនិងគណៈកម្មការជួយគ្រប់គ្រងនិងបន្តគ្រប់គ្រងយើងខ្ញុំទាំងអស់គ្នាឲ្យមានសុវត្ថិភាពដោយជនជាតិដទៃទៀតដែលរស់នៅក្នុងទឹកដីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកសូមអរគុណ
Thank you.
I hope that we will all continue to stand together, support one another for the safety of our community members. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you. Again, I want to take this time to also acknowledge present is the Philadelphia Anti-Drug, Anti-Violence Network for joining us today, Second Ward, and also activists from the Queen Village neighborhood. Thank you so much for being here. All this, just to also do a quick mini acknowledgement, this entire process, this entire work, the agenda, the press release, the brainstorming, the connecting with community would not happen without the Cambodian leadership across the city. One thing remains true, when it goes down, we all come together. There's been over a dozen leadership across the city, different fields, different backgrounds. There's a humming noise, like a UFO going on, which is now on the news. But yeah, so I really want to acknowledge all the great leadership here, including Neri Kith, Sarong Sorn, Bunrat Math, Nak Chung, Peng, Mr. Hoor, Narin, so many people. I'm trying to look at it, and I should have wrote it down, but like everyone's been coming together and just helping. Over a dozen of us, so it's been amazing. Next, it's my privilege to introduce our board president at the Cambodian Association of Greater Philadelphia. This man travels 2.5, 3 hours for any meeting to Philadelphia when it's time, all the time. So I'm glad to introduce him and welcome here to everyone, Mr. Nak Chung.
All right, Nat. That was Gene.
That's my president.
ជំរាបសួរទាំងអស់គ្នាសូមអរគុណដែលបានមកស្ដាប់ពួកយើងនិយាយអំពីសមាគមខ្មែរយើង to the our law enforcement divisions I want to thank you for taking this matter seriously for your swift action. I want to acknowledge that, so thank you. So good. And Saran, you're doing an amazing job, right? I want to acknowledge your action here, now, in public. It would have been really easy to receive this letter and just set it aside and say, hey, it's a harmless letter, it will pass. But instead of stepping over it, Sarun brought it to our attention. So thank you for doing that. And to all our supporters, our appreciation is deep and wide. As you already know, CHEP has been in the community for more than 40 years. And we're looking to exist for 40 more plus years and strong. And it's only possible because the community is here. If you look around, right, we have this water in this hot day. It's a beautiful space. This space is for Cambodian. This space is for everyone. It's for everyone. And because you're here, CAGP is here to support you. Thank you to our partners, right? Your support and your partnership allow us to thrive. And we will continue to thrive strong. Because in our mind, together we can do so much, and together we can do great things. The incidents that occurred this past Monday is the exact opposite. It contradicts what CHEP mission is, right? Our mission is to support one another. But this incident on Monday is divisive. It's hatred. It is intentional. It is focused. It's focused toward a group of individuals, specifically Cambodian. regardless of who wrote it, how old the person might be, etc., this letter is a threatening letter. It indicates violence, it indicates threats, it mentioned guns, it mentioned death to a group, specifically a Cambodian community. It is not okay. That letter is not simply okay. Again, I just want to reiterate our partners, our law enforcement, our local and our state officials. We look to you. You are our supporters. You are our guidance. You are our leader. We look to you for safety. What is it that you're going to do? Are you going to step over this situation and say, oh, you know, it's a harmless situation? Or are we going to find a way to bring us together and make peace so that we can coexist, so that no one should feel threatened when they come and enjoy this water behind me? So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here, because you being here matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much. We do have another organization that just joined us, and we want to acknowledge that they're supporting Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, anti-racism team in Southeast Pennsylvania. So thank you so much for joining us today as well. You know, like Nat said, this is a beautiful park. I live in South Philly. I live 2 blocks from here. I can see the park from my house. And raise your hand if you live in Philly.
Oh, not anymore.
Raise your hand if you heard firecrackers in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not in July.
Yes. All the time.
So, yeah, we want to celebrate too. But again, like we've been sharing, it's been targeted. It was concocted. It was, most importantly, ethnic intimidation, period. Next up, I would like to invite Council Person David O.
Thank you very much. Terrible incident. Fortunately, a good outcome thanks to our police officers, our police department. I think what they showed is that this community and every community in Philadelphia is cared for and looked after. We want to make sure that although the letter was questionable, Mr. Horkow, who was just up here, sent me the letter. We established in April 1st a working group of 60 Asian American organizations directly with the police commissioner to respond to anti-Asian hate and violence. And the Asian American police detectives are very much involved, and they were talking with us about what was happening. But I think the important thing for the community, one, is they see the response, what a quick response it was, that shows that the police department and this city are very concerned. It is also an issue that this woman, who is a senior citizen and was very tearfully apologetic about what she did, she's wrong, that she made intimations of threats and violence using firearms. You know, she has issues. I will say this is a really tough time in our city with so much gun violence, death, COVID-19, unemployment, all those type of things. A lot of issues going on that we have to really deal with as a city. Getting the economy back open, making sure our services are available, and that we are helping people get back on their feet. I will say that, you know, I feel very sad about the fact that she invoked veterans. We have 88,000 veterans in this city. And to kind of intimate that veterans have PTSD and are armed or going to do violence, that's a real disservice to those who served our country. I appreciate all of you, what you're doing, and coming together. I appreciate the press and the media coming out. We have a lot of people here who are representing, for example, we have Stephanie Sun from the Governor's Asian American Affairs Office. We have Nina Ahmed, who's a well-known person in our city, former deputy mayor. Everyone coming out to show the community that we care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next we have Shira J. Goodman, the Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. The Anti-Defamation League has been around for a century, fighting hate in all forms. I want to be clear that the purpose when people do things like this is to divide, is to other, is to keep us separate from one another. I'm glad that we're coming together today to say that we won't stand for that. But the impact of hate crimes and bias incidents are felt beyond the person, of course, who opened the letter. They are felt by entire communities who don't feel safe. And we need to come together, and I'm so glad and thankful for law enforcement for taking this seriously, and I hope that we'll continue to see it being taken seriously as it moves through the process. We need to say nobody is safe unless we are all safe. So when these incidents happen, as the board president said, he could have thrown the letter away. You could ignore things that happen to you on the street. We need you to report them, to feel safe, to give your neighbors, to give us the opportunity to stand with you and say, not in this city. Hate is not welcome here. Now we've seen that hate is becoming normalized, that the rhetoric online and offline and on the streets has become hateful and charged and divisive. We saw white supremacists marching through our city the other night. The mayor was clear that they don't belong here, that hate has no home here. But that is on all of us every day. So thank you for giving the Anti-Defamation League the opportunity to stand with you and say that. We will be here whenever you need. If the community needs resources, we have things that we will translate. We want people to feel safe. And if you don't feel safe reporting yourself, you can call us, you can call Randy at the Philadelphia Human Relations Commission, and we will help. But we can't help unless we know. So please know that there are people of different colors, who come from different places, who pray to different gods, who love differently, who all want to be here to say, hate has no home in Philadelphia, and we will stand with you until we root it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Dr. Nina Ahmad, former Deputy Mayor of Public Engagement and Commissioner appointed by President Barack Obama to the Advisory Commission on Asian American and Pacific Islanders. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I am here to stand in solidarity with my Southeast Asian brothers and sisters, with my Cambodian brothers and sisters specifically, and to really voice my concern about the threat of violence against the Cambodian community and really demand a full investigation of this ethnic intimidation. This is open season on AAPIs. This threat must be taken seriously and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Is this a one-off threat or a part of a coordinated effort? We don't know that until we investigate that. From what I have heard, the alleged perpetrator who sent this threatening note is a 79-year-old woman. Please note that age is not a factor because we have a president who is 78, fit and functional. And so this woman is either acting on her own and is very savvy, 79-year-old who found the CAGP address, impersonated a veteran, and threatened a community with lethal weapons and knew to send this note anonymously. So she knew all this. Or she's being used by others who have an ulterior motive to frighten the community. Please remember, this, what is known affectionately as Cambodia Town, is a community who lives here, who have put their roots down here for the last 40 years, escaping genocide, which our country had a hand in. We're here, they are here because of what was done. And in spite of all the problems they faced, they have thrived, they have sustained this community, they have businesses, they have temples, they have community groups. They're here to stay. So if there's anyone who's part of some kind of nefarious plot to frighten people, and if this is going to be a sustained effort, we need to fight back in a sustained way. You know, being resettled in this underserved area was not something they asked for, but yet they thrived, they resisted, and they persisted. Mifflin Park is the heart of this community and is a desirable piece of real estate. Only a few blocks away from Pasiang and Pensport. Thoughtful, inclusive development to improve the housing stock and amenities without displacement of the neighbors. And I say that again, without displacement of the neighbors who made it a warm and welcoming, unique place, is a fair and just path forward. There have been recent investments to improve this playground. And the concern is, when you build a playground, who are you building it for? Are you building it for the new people moving in at $500,000 homes? Or are you building it for the community who has been here for generations and who have created value and now being exploited by unscrupulous folks? So the reason I bring this up is to say there is more than meets the eye here. And that's why we asked the district attorney's office, the police, to continue looking into this so that we can unearth whatever it might be. It might be just a, smart old lady who's angry at everybody, or it could be a smart old lady who knows how to make some money, or it could be an unsuspecting old lady who's just being used by someone. So I want to thank CAGP for always being on the alert, for always engaging so many of us across the city. I come from Northwest Philadelphia. I've lived in the city for 38 plus years, and I've seen what has been happening. And this community needs our support. It's great to see so many of our council people here to understand there's a systemic issues at play and that we're watching. So whoever it might be, we are watching, and there are going to be people who are going to act on this. So I thank all of you for your attention. I thank you for being brave. I have lived through a war myself. I know what it is to have tanks roll down the street and have dead bodies with bayonets stuck in them. I've seen that as a child. So I know what you've gone through. And while it's triggering, while it makes us fearful, it does not make us stand down. So we are going to be here. As a Bangladeshi American, I stand in full solidarity with all of you in Philadelphia because we're all under siege, and we need to just fight back and refuse to buckle down under these issues and having these people attack us. So thank you for having me, and I hope we can all work together and continue to show solidarity with each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have two more speakers and then one final closing and sharing a little bit of a list of our demands, requests as well. So next up we have Council Member Mark Squilla.
Yeah!
Welcome.
Thank you, Saran. And I want to say that, as horrifying as this was when we received a letter from when Hoy sent it out, I do want to say that we could use this opportunity, as you see today, as a way to bring people together. Because the majority of the people in this community support each other and want to work and live with each other. There are people out there who have alternative motives for what they do, but I do know that once we did receive the letter and we forwarded it over to the police captain, they acted immediately and took it very seriously. And that happens too because of the relationship that they have with the community and the Cambodian community and the police. And they sent people down right away to get a copy of the letter. South detectives did a great job of reaching out to folks who may have been people who had called and complained about fireworks in the area, and did a diligent job to find out who this was. And no matter who it is and what it is, it cannot be accepted and cannot be tolerated. So that's the most important thing. But what we have to take from this now is how we can stay together, not just today when there is a bad incident that happened, but in the future when there are good things happening. And as you heard about the playground being redone, and what's being happening and who's being a part of that, we're looking to add that to the rebuild program. We see some things happening here. We have CMAC who's been leading the design with the community input. And community input is important because what the community wants is what the city should have. And I think that's why the design of the playground is put in such a way that the community input is part of that process. So we here as representatives of the people who live down here, this is my neighborhood too. I grew up right there on Fairhill Street, 2400 block. This was my park. It's still my park. And even before we were council people here, we helped with the Friends of Mifflin Square, and we had cookouts and just started the process to do it. It's great to see that other people have taken it even further and looking to redo this so that all the people in this community can enjoy and use this park. And I want to say that, you know, to Cambodian Association, thank you for continuing to drive, continuing your work ethic, continuing to be inclusive of everybody, not only the Cambodian community and the business community, but all the community. And it means so much, because if we don't work together, if we are separated and divided, we can never conquer the people who want us to be that way. So it's time to unite, it's time to stay united, and it's time to continue to make the positive outweigh the negative. So thank you so much, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I can vouch for Councilman. He was grill master before he became a councilman at the park cleanups 10 years ago, a little over. And I ate the food. So we have our last speaker, and you know, he is a champion for our city. If you follow him on his Instagram, you know his daily world and his universe. I would like to welcome Narinchin.
All right, Naren.
First of all, thank you so much, Saran, for your leadership. And also, most important, you know, the Cambodian American leadership of the city of Philadelphia. You guys came together as a community, as a unit, to make sure that we cross collaboration with our city official and also our amazing law enforcement as well. I was on the call the other day, and you know, there was kind of like the tone of like we never had any good relationship with 3rd District. But under the leadership of Captain Hartswell, we've been great relationship with our community in the city of Philadelphia. I just want to at least commend Captain Hartswell on that. Thank you. I come today as the Mayor's Commissioner on Asian American Affairs in the city of Philadelphia, and also a member of this vibrant and thriving Cambodian American community as well. The recent events that happened, it's traumatizing for our community. It's re-traumatizing for our community. It instilled fear, incite violence amongst our community that's still continue to grow and to build and live in South Philadelphia and across the city and the Commonwealth as well too. When we came together as a community, when this letter came to CAGP South Office, immediate response was called. All our leadership was in place when the business community, Mr. Hall Cho and Mr. Vice President Pang Seng of the Cambodian American business community, and also Kit, as well as our business community members in the business corridors as well too. And also both Senator Nikhil Saval, who's through his quick response came through with his infant child. Thank you, sir. But this letter itself, it's damaging, you know? We came from a war-torn country through the secret bombing of Southeast Asia, Cambodia, that further destabilized our community and can cause our displacement. This is where our entry point is as refugees to the city of Philadelphia and America as well. This right here, for us to grow, you know, we have to solve this issue, right, as a community. However, as we're growing as a community, this letter is further divide our community, right? And we are very compassionate and loving community. We continue on doing that, right? It's just appalling that this has happened. We are outraged as a community. We want full accountability. We want, you know, partnership right now and continue on the partnership, and also for the future to come to work with law enforcement, because we know this issue is not just a law enforcement issue. It's also a triage of, we want the Department of Behavioral Health to be involved, community leaders to be involved, and also other entities that's also be involved to solve this, because clearly whoever wrote it have some mental issue. We and our family in the community also have some mental issue too. But we want to work with you, you know? But we also want you to be accountable too to the community that's divided right now because of all that. But we're working on it. You know, immediately when that happened, all the community, our community leadership went out passing door-to-door canvassing the entire block, all the city block, the city business corridor here, to make sure that all the information is out and we control. And we also account. They complain about the firework. We also took full accountability to speak to our community members and our youth to make sure stand down the fireworks. People complaining right now. So what I'm saying is, this is an example of how, as a community-led, grassroots-led, that we can build a better city for the city of Philadelphia and for all our community across the board. What I want to say here, look, our commission, the Mayor's Commission on Asian American Affairs, been working effortlessly, relentlessly hard since the pandemic happened in 2020. You know, Ramona, our director here, she's been working, coordinating all our efforts, right? You know, Office OIA as well too. So there is city leadership and also Department of Human Relations as well as Randy that's here. And also I want to commend also the Governor Commission on Asian American Affairs, Stephanie's son is here too. So we want to work, we want full accountability, we want the DA to further investigate this, and also we want healing. We want healing. Because we know this is not just a law enforcement issue. We don't want over-policing, we want working collaboration. You know, if it was a black or brown person that write this threat letter, they would have been detained, incarcerated, and deported. How about that? I'm saying this, there is also a disparity within our system, but it's going to take all of us as a community. Thank you, Dr. Nina Ma, as well, for being and showing up, and also the Anti-Defamation League as well. Thank you for everybody's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
So I said all the humans were done speaking. We actually have a spirit visiting through another human. Andres will be speaking upon the office of Helen Gim, and this will be the last speech before the list of demands.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andres Celine, and I'm the Outreach Director for Councilmember Helen Gim. Thank you all for joining us here today. On behalf of Councilmember Gim, who unfortunately is traveling out of state today, I wanted to share the council member's deepest concerns and our office's commitment to stand with the Cambodian community, with the children and families of Mifflin Square and South Philadelphia, and to unequivocally oppose hate and violence against APIs, immigrant communities, and all people. Every person deserves to walk through this city with safety. This is why Councilmember Gim, along with other members of City Council, has supported new investments to end violence in our city. We know that a pervasive culture of violence in particular can make hate crimes even more widespread. Hate crimes against Asian Americans, especially Asian American women, young people, and seniors, have risen dramatically at a national level and here in our own city. These include the tragic attack and murder of 28-year-old businessman and father Wei Lin in late May. That is why our office is here today with leadership from our Cambodian community to ensure that Asian American voices will remain vocal and visible, and that the abhorrent threats and ethnic intimidation against the Cambodian community will be taken seriously by the city and by each and every one of our government institutions. Fear will not define us. Councilmember Gim knows that when a hateful act occurs, even when a perpetrator is identified, that we are all called to help repair the harm that is caused. If hate motivates a person's action, then love and community must be the restoration that we bring back into the space.
Right.
We must be more welcoming than ever before.
Right.
We must be more inclusive and more joyful than ever before. This park belongs to everyone, especially the Cambodian community. And Philadelphia is the beautiful, diverse place that it is because of the presence of our Cambodian community. On behalf of the council member, I want to acknowledge the courage and strength of the Cambodian Association of Greater Philadelphia, Mr. Horchu, and other Cambodian leaders, and to all our neighbors in our city. We will continue to stand together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay, so I want to thank you for everyone who has spoken. Before I list the community effort of these 4 demands, I want to acknowledge something, that after this press conference's gathering ends, this is another scar for the Cambodian community history. We might all leave today, but our community, we will still continue to service, and this situation will keep coming up for the next 40 years.
any situation that has happened within our community still comes up. When something happens, oh, remember that time? Oh, remember that time? Remember that time? Remember that time? I remember this time right now, and I know you all will remember this time as well. This letter is ethnic intimidation in its way towards a hate crime, no matter who wrote it. No matter who wrote it. This letter, okay, was concocted, strategized. Every W was answered in it. Who they wanted to attack, with what, where they wanted to attack, how they were going to do it, and why. The only thing that was missing was when. All right? Who, what, where, how, and why were answered in this letter. We know that this is ethnic intimidation. This was racist, period. Think about that. All these other attacks we see on the streets, oh, they didn't say X, Y, and Z. Oh, we're not completely sure 100%. Oh, and then there'll be internal debate within the community. Well, maybe it's not, maybe it is. I'm here to tell you, all those things were answered within this letter by this person who may have thought about it alone or with a group of people, probably giggling on the side. It was just when. Think about that. When. Now I will share with you, as a collection, 4 lists of demands that we would love the city to hear, for everyone to hear, that we would like to follow up with. And for our community, our Cambodian community, I want to say the Cambodian Association will stay on top of this situation and follow it through every situation, right? Or as best as we can, to provide services, programming, and everything for all the community members in the whole shebang. List of current demands. Number 1, accountability of the individual who sent the threatening letter for the impact of their violent language, impersonation of a veteran, and weaponization of mental health. This includes a full and transparent investigation that is centered around the community impacted. 2, collaboratively work with the city agencies, officials, and local organizations to create a more equitable accessibility to mental health resources and communication. Number 3, prioritization of this community in regards to investment of resources, for example, funding and grant opportunities that specifically builds capacity within the community by the community. And lastly, number 4, we call for institutional system-wide anti-racist equity building, training, and implementation from the city level, because we recognize the impact of these larger institutions on the BIPOC communities, specifically our Black and Brown communities as well, right, as a whole. So those are our 4 key asks, our 4 key demands that we would love follow up on to continue to make into a reality. Just like this letter that was written up, look at the scars it started to make. But look at the beautiful people in front of us right now that came together because of that. We're like, I'm not a biologist, but we're like those cells that come in and play and then they heal that wound, right? But there's always that scar, right? And we don't want a Band-Aid. But anyway, please continue. If you need a list of the demands, that we do have a copy. Please continue to stay connected with us at the Cambodian Association and also all our leadership, our amazing Cambodian leadership. KITS is here. They do a lot of work, similar work at CAGP, and also there's a beautiful piece of mental health that they're growing. Our community needs those services, and we need to grow that for sure. I see so many people online right now. I act like I know the number, but I'm going to pretend. Thank you for watching us on Instagram. Thank you for watching us on Facebook. We will leave next just to a Q&A for any press or any community members that may have to ask, I guess, law enforcement, the police department, anybody around. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. Thank you so much for being here. We love you. We love Mifflin Square Park. Love the community. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
How are you?
I think they're good.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, and I'll bring you the feedback.